What are the core business obstacles that business executives are facing and they don't even know about? I've seen that happen over 100 times in my advisory and my business agency, DevriX, and this is something that we've been facing more often than not. Even if you know as an executive that you have a problem, you don't necessarily know how to approach it, what does that problem look like exactly, and how to accommodate it while moving forward. So it's pretty common, and part of the challenge that we've been dealing with my advisory clients as well as my agency clients is trying to get to the bottom of it, trying to get the foundation straight and kind of work as kind of as an external COO for you. So while normally these plans either go for the $1,800 a month advisory package that I have or the fractional $7,500 a month that we've had clients paying for years and years and years in a row, I've broken down the 18 core steps and processes that you can apply yourself if you want, and kind of you can run through that playbook yourself and again, do it at home and try to kind of delve most of the value yourself from the get-go. So let's jump right in. The first thing that we're trying to cover is the elevator pitch. So what does the business look like? What's the core offer, right? If you have a motto, if you have a slogan, if you're Nike and kind of just do it or, make America great again or so, then you need to have something that stands out and something that's really just several words, kind of what's the core value proposition. Normally, for most businesses, it kind of follows a fairly straightforward, trivial kind of framework, such as we do X to help Y generate Z or kind of deliver or go to Z. This may be reframed and this may be reworked in different ways, shapes, and forms, but in reality, this is kind of one of the core things that you want to establish. So what we're trying to figure out is kind of what's the unique selling benefit that the business can deliver to the audience and focusing on that USP and then using it to expand and using it to refine the next steps. Number two is the total addressable market. Now, it's pretty important to understand, especially for earlier stage businesses, but sometimes for larger enterprises trying to pivot a new product, a new service offering, or just trying to adapt to the new business and macro environment. What does the total addressable market look like? Now, this one is also pretty important because what we've seen every now and then is someone niching down so much that the entire total addressable market is 5,000 companies. And this is everyone they can ever work with, which is almost impossible. Or on the other end of the spectrum, we have pretty much half the planet. So let's say we sell to every single female between 6 years old and 80 years old, which is, again, essentially about 4 billion people, give or take. So what we're trying to establish is what is the total addressable market for the business. We take the elevator pitch, we run it to kind of our framework, and then we try to narrow it down to something that's more reasonable and something that's more achievable and appropriate to start pitching to. In most of the cases, you would need several, anywhere between 50,000 to let's say 500,000 people that are able to kind of leverage your offer. Again, it depends a lot. We also work with some enterprises that are very specific, and there are only 20 to 50 companies in the entire world that can use their solution, but it's pretty rare. In most cases, you need like 50 to 500,000 to be kind of an average total addressable market of possible businesses you can serve, possible businesses you can work with, so that you can aim for something like, let's say, 1% of the market, and then start to expand from there if you get there in the near future. Number three is buyer personas or ICPs. So who is the ideal buyer customer? What's their profile? What's their demographics? Where do they live? What do they do for a living? And then if you go to ICP, you can then break it down into firmographics, technographics, psychographics, and just try to get the broader spectrum of what type of solution they use. Technology, browsers, devices, other applications if you're kind of into the B2B world. But in any case, you want to have a clear definition of who are you selling to. Lots of businesses, including enterprises, oftentimes forget either who they're selling to, or they don't have it set in stone, or even if they had personas and ICPs previously, they have evolved over the past year, so they're no longer applicable. So there's a dissonance between who they're selling to and what do their playbooks say. So we're trying to establish that for several reasons. First off, it brings clarity to the business. And second, for me as an advisor or for DevriX as an agency, we have to be aware of who are we selling to, because this is informing other decisions. What channels are we going to target? What designs are we going to build? Color schemes, typographies, social networks. Are they email first, or are they texting? Are they Gen Zs or Gen Alpha? Are they boomers? Maybe they're using Internet Explorer in that case. So lots of other considerations that we have to adapt and align to based on kind of the buyer persona. So this is why this is kind of step number 3. Number 4 is the competitive landscape, or we also call that competitive research or competitive market research. In any case, we're trying to understand who else is delivering that solution on the market. How are they delivering it? Is it a software? Is it a service, a SaaS solution, newsletter, magazine? How many customers does the competitor have? So we're trying to assess that. And then we map it out across all channels, such as, let's say, domain authority or domain rating, number of social followers, funding, concurrent base, all of the other aspects, just so that we know what the competitor landscape is. So this has a couple of purposes. First off, we are trying to compare with some of the largest players in the space and understand what's possible, what percentage of the market do they acquire, and what does it take to actually reach that and be able to offer the same solution or kind of provide the same value. And second, we are actually trying to reach a reality check, because sometimes there's a kind of smaller business making, like, let's say $5 million or $10 million a year that comes in and says, hey, I want to be the next Dropbox or the next Airbnb. Now, in some cases, more businesses cannot necessarily achieve that, or it's going to be unrealistic to expect that to happen in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. Because some of these giants have been spending, one example is Coca-Cola, they've been spending $4 billion a year on advertising. So if you want to be Coca-Cola, and you don't have $4 billion a year to spend on advertising, needless to say, you won't be able to get the same reach anytime soon. And that's something that we've seen with other drinks such as Prime, by other influencers, and kind of how things turned out with this one. But once again, competitive landscape is trying to identify who are you fighting against, what are their core propositions and values, and how did they get there, and also trying to validate that you know exactly who are these ideal personas and customers, or what's realistic to go from point A, where you're at right now, to the last point, which is you want to reach them and kind of be competing in that top tier of the market. Number 5 we are identifying is the business structure, which includes the PNL, the way it's being structured. Is the NEOC, and C Corp, S Corp, is it a holding company, is it an offshore thing? So it's very important to just understand the semantics of that, how exactly it's being structured at the moment, and what are the core revenue metrics, what's revenue, cost of goods sold, profitability, net gross profitability, operating expenses. All of this we are sitting down and are trying to evaluate. What we see oftentimes is that business executives, even if they've been running a high 7 or low 8-figure business, oftentimes they're not necessarily aware of all of these breakdowns. They don't have the right dashboards, the right sheets, and it's something we work on putting together and developing, and also connecting to other systems and metrics. We definitely see that in other parts of the world. For example, I am a Flip ambassador. I'm also an ambassador for Seedblink, so we do both merger and acquisition and investing deals, and we sit down and work with founders and with top shot executives who can't necessarily tell what their business model looks like. So they don't understand the concept of profitability, they're calculating EBITDA wrong. There are kind of different mistakes they're making along the way. And once again, we've been seeing that with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of executives running $5 million, $10 million, $20 million businesses, because they haven't been in the right seat, or the business grew exponentially, or they are coming from a traditional business, like, let's say, construction, or anything else that's kind of operating in a different process. So all of these reasons combined, we want to make sure that we have P&L that we look at that's realistic, that's reasonable, that's telling and indicating enough data, and it's something that both parties can be aligned on. Number 6 is the accountability chart. So what does the company look like right now? What does the hierarchy look like? How many different layers of VPs, directors, managers do you have right now? Is it completely flat? Are there any opportunities to go up and down? Do you have any other C-level people in your C-suite? Operating officer, marketing officer, sales officer, technology officer, and so on. Do you have a CFO? Do you work with an external CFO? Are your people internal or external? Are there contractors or employees? Are there offshore? What's the percentage of agencies and contractors versus full-time people you're working with? And all of these elements. So there are different problems we're identifying sometimes. Sometimes the company is too deep and there are too many layers that people have to go through for the company's size. So we're trying to shrink it by cutting down middle-level management, or by trying to convert them to individual contributors, or trying to kind of expand and kind of merge several departments together so that there's less communication overhead. In other cases, it's too flat and the C-suite cannot actually focus on what they have to be, which is delivering high-value results for the organization. Number 7 is core responsibilities. Now, this entails the entire executive team, all of the VPs and directors below, and even the day-to-day staff members. We actually developed several years ago an internal software as a service solution, SaaS BPM, to do that exact same thing, where each of our roles has daily activities, weekly activities, monthly activities. It is a business process management system that really helps us understand who does what on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, what are the recurring responsibilities, what are the compliance activities we need to deal with, and then understand how to map them or when one role can transition to another and build better job descriptions and better kind of executive profiles and whatnot. So this one is pretty important. So understanding the core responsibilities and what people are responsible for and in charge for can really deliver great insights and also put you in the spot of your staff members. How many things they're dealing with? Do you need to develop and invent more roles, or maybe they're kind of underworked and you can probably consolidate some of them and don't need to overhire that much? Or maybe there are things that could be automated and built with AI. Just lots of opportunities exist when you look into this one. Number 8 is revenue generators. What's making money for the company? And it may be surprising, but what we see in certain businesses is that there are some great opportunities to make money, and there are some great time wasters making money. Now, when working with landscaping companies and rooftop, like more traditional, moving to tech and to digital, we often figure out that there's a misalignment between what's generating the most revenue and what's generating the most profit. So what we're trying to do is, hey, can we access more of these clients that are generating higher profit, higher net profit results instead of higher revenue? Because sometimes you can make, generate $500,000 in revenue, but also have $450,000 in expenses for a single business. So you're actually only making 50 grand on that deal. There's a higher room for failure. It's taking longer. More people that can mess something up. So you can actually eat up all of your margin. And in other cases, there's a 100 grand deal that only costs you $30,000 to deliver. So on the 100 grand, you're making 70,000 instead of 50,000 on the 500,000. So instead of chasing revenue, we are also trying to combine profit. Of course, profitability is important. Sometimes you need revenue to just reach a customer or close it, or maybe you can upsell on the back end additional services that are making profit. But in any case, just focusing on where's revenue coming from, what are the opportunities to make more, and more importantly, how to make more profit out of that contract. Number 9 is limiting resources. What's preventing you to scale right now? In most cases, it's capital, right? If you have more money, you have more salespeople and more marketers and kind of be able to deliver more solutions and close more business. But let's assume you get there, right? You get some funding, you land a partnership, a PR, you go on CNBC or so, and you get more business. So what's preventing you to delivering more and better results? Now, it's usually limited to manpower, specific people, specific roles missing, specific opportunities. So figure this out, focus on how to optimize them, how to build processes around them, how to find more people and kind of onboard more talent easily, how to work with freelancers, with vendors, with contractors, with agencies, so that when you start scaling, you're not limited by the in-house resources that you employ. Number 10, this is the business forefront. What does the business look like on the outside? It may seem shallow, but it's important that the business understands its mission and vision statements, its core value proposition, the core values for the team, and all the other bells and whistles that make the system click. In order to build solid and strong culture, you want to make sure that you work with the right people, and you also send the right signals to investors, to stakeholders, to clients, to future employees, and everyone else working in the organization. So make sure you prioritize that and build that and develop it and try to maintain it. And this is really going to deliver great results for the organization. Again, it may seem like an overkill, but in fact, there are lots of cases that someone's working in your company for 2 years and they don't even know what you stand for, right? Is it important to make more money, more revenue? Is it important to take higher ticket clients or not? Is it important to be kind of deliver exceptional customer quality or be able to cut corners because you don't care about that? We've seen that dozens of times. It's more common than you may think, and it's a lot easier when everything is just stuck on a wall, sitting on the website, part of the onboarding process, part of the feedback process. It just makes so much more sense. Number 11 is the core processes. How is the business operating on a day-to-day basis? Again, that should be common sense, but almost every single organization in the universe needs a lot of work on improving the core processes. So how are you hiring people? What's the agenda for meetings? How are you building your sprints? How are you doing performance reviews and kind of operational reviews? Do you use EOS or OKRs or 4DX or any of the other management systems? How are you doing performance evaluations and raises? Like, all of these are well-known problems and challenges in the areas of business that are super common. How are you doing hiring? What are the rules for remote work or bonuses or overtime or everything else? And again, great businesses, like every single business of the planet is facing these challenges, and you need to have straightforward processes that are not wasting time, that are not causing kind of wreaking havoc for your team. And it just makes for a smooth sailing when all of these are being streamlined. Number 12 is business velocity. Now, what does a successful business look like? What's your core KPI? What's the North Star for the business? Most businesses are chasing too many goals, and this is making it impossible for the business to actually persevere. Of course, your VPs, your executives, your other C-suites, they have their separate goals, and they all have to be aligned to the core goal. But what is the core goal? Is it revenue? Is it headcount? Is it profitability? Is it achieving a better purpose? What exactly is it? Now, when you have the core goal, everything else could be a compromise unless it's really jeopardizing that core goal. But it's very important to set the right KPIs and build the right scorecard, which is what we are working on with our customers. These scorecards are being vetted every single week and being discussed at like leadership meetings every 2 weeks, every month, or quarterly meetings, to make sure you're not moving off track, and then you bundle these to every single department as well. Number 13 is the tough choices. When we analyze all of that and when we work for a couple months together, it's pretty clear that certain things have to change. Maybe some of the policies are too friendly and you need to get people back to the office, or maybe you need to remove all of that flex work hours because your people cannot meet and cannot deliver value, or maybe you need to lay some people off, or maybe you need to cut some company perks for profitability reasons, or in other cases to save some cash upfront. But in any cases, how are you dealing with this? Now, what we're kind of doing is trying to figure out what we can get rid of, what we cannot, how to communicate that, what can we potentially offer in exchange for that, and just try to align both the strategy and the messaging in the best possible manner. But keep in mind that you don't want baggage. In some cases, you can't really live without it. But if you can simplify and streamline things, everyone else who remains in the company is going to be happier and more satisfied. They're going to deliver more, and they're going to be more valuable for you, and therefore stay longer in the company and be entitled to more pay raises. Number 14 is new revenue channels. What else can you unlock right now? Over the past year, this has been one of the key things as B2B has gone through rough times. So this is why we have uncovered a lot of new opportunities to do outreach, to do paid ads with buyer level identification for our customers, which is pretty trendy. We have other go-to-market strategies with, again, email outreach to Apollo, or sending voice messages on DMs on LinkedIn, or doing some B2B influencer campaigns, a lot of other channels, including Reddit, by the way, and Quora as they grew kind of in traffic, organizing virtual events and webinars, lots of other channels that are actually bringing business for our customers. So in some cases, again, these are communities or specific PR initiatives or paid ads towards offers that were previously not really prioritized. And kind of working on all of that is really unblocking and releasing new channels that the business can utilize to keep growing and keep delivering value. Number 15 is management efficiency. Now, the better your business gets, the more you start growing, the higher the chance this ends up in a gap with your existing executive team or your VPs or directors, because you are working with, a proficient agency, a consultancy, an advisor, and you spend 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 months growing that business, right? Scaling it, building new processes, new procedures, new systems in place, finding new channels. But your team, unless they were involved in all that process, which is R&D, and in most cases they're not, because you don't know what exactly is going to work. So in most cases, your team is going to be disconnected and isolated. So there's going to be a gap. You're going to be, as a leader, like a founder, C-level, you're always like at least a year ahead of them, if not 2. But now you're another 1 or 2 years ahead with the new concepts, new offers, new systems, new process, the way the business works and kind of delivers value. So you need to bridge that gap. So the management efficiency part essentially entails how are you telling that story, how are you connecting the dots for your team, and how are you bringing them up to speed to what's the new normal. This is pretty important. If you miss that point, you're going to lose key executives on your team or key strategic people, individual contributors, and you definitely don't want to do that. So what we're doing together and what you may want to try to do yourself, unless you want to work with me and my advisory company, GrowthShuttle, doing 1,800 a month advisory contracts, or DevriX for the implementation and execution, then you're going to have to do that internally yourself. So the way that works is, again, you sit down with all of your teams, you go through the core values that you've established, you improve the value proposition for them, you try to kind of show them the end goal, why are we going there, what is in it there for them and for these teams, and trying to kind of make it better for them. Number 16 is delegate and elevate. I took this practice from EOS, which we've been rolling in 3 of the companies that I've been working with, and it's pretty helpful. Essentially, you want to be able to delegate some of these initiatives to your core staff, to your C-suite, to your leadership team, and help them elevate, right? Help them connect the dots and become better by revealing the strategy to them, by telling them what's important, by what's the end goal, why are you doing this, why is the company running better with this new strategy. So they have to kind of re-coach and retrain their teams and kind of believe in that vision and also sell them on that sell vision. That's pretty important. There are some great frameworks. Go ahead and look the traction books that are kind of uncovering KOS, or kind of go through some of the other processes so that you can adapt this in your environment as well. Number 17 is the hiring playbook. Now, as your business is turning into a more profitable system with more revenue streams, you are starting to think about growth again. And there are different considerations. Should you hire internally? Should you work with agencies, with vendors, with freelancers, with consultants? Should you deploy more AI to solve more problems, right? There's no right or wrong answer here. It really depends on the circumstances. In some cases, one is better than the other. But in all cases, your former playbook was probably not efficient enough in order to get there. It lacked the processes, it lacked the behavioral-driven questions and kind of vetting workflow for your top hires. And now you need to work with better people, more established, like self-developed individuals, kind of grinders and kind of self-managed autonomous people in order to deliver better results. So we're working on that step 17 together, building the better hiring flows and funnels in order to kind of reach to a better, stable point. Keep in mind that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's why executives work with consultants. I myself have 2 advisors that I work with and I pay retainers to, and am also in advisory and agency groups, because it's extremely important for me to keep growing even after over 20 years in business. So this is why executives have coaches. This is why great athletes have coaches. Everyone's working with coaches because they have to keep elevating and surround themselves with better people. So in your environment, you want to surround yourself with great people, your C-suite, your VPs, your managers, your directors, by both elevating them and helping them get to the point they need to be in order to operate better and understand the bigger picture, and also hire additional people who are already living and understanding that bigger picture. This is why it is so critical. And last but not least, as part of the core framework, is number 18, compliance. Most great businesses on the planet, so the easiest way to kill a $100 million business or a larger one is compliance issues, tax issues, some diversity issues, some internal PR scandals. All of those, like it's either an accounting thing, a PR drama, or a legal thing that can really kill and tank an entire business. So what we're trying to prevent here is make sure that we are as compliant as it gets. Paperwork, contracts, vendorship clauses, license terms, where are you hosting things, security guidelines, governance and provision, audits, all of these kind of working together to make sure that the safety net is cast wet. You have all of the insurance contracts, you have potentially external vendors, additional bank accounts or companies or so, to offload some of these and make sure you are kind of always up and running as best as possible. So this is the 18-step framework that we've been working on with over 400 companies on the GrowthShuttle and over 100 companies from the DevriX front as well. I do the advisor with my small team on the GrowthShuttle end, and we do the execution with 40 plus people on the DevriX front, doing WordPress, SEO, HubSpot, landing pages. We sell a lot of go-to-market initiatives in email marketing, affiliates, AI outreach, enrichment, and so forth. And experimentation, running different campaigns and landing pages in order to increase profitability, to build new offers in new niches. So these are kind of some of the core offers. So make sure you reach out if you have any follow-up questions. And also, if you just want to go through a deep dive and kind of read more, look up my book, MBA Disrupted, which I released earlier this year. It's now a 2x bestseller, one of the top read books in entrepreneurship and the startup category. So thanks for listening in. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments and I'm going to plan them for ongoing videos.